What's going on, guys? The wildest thing that has happened in my agency, I'll tell you this. We had the opportunity, and I won't name customer, the prospect. I'm just going to throw it out there. There is a really, really well-known guy or gal. I won't even tell you. You've probably heard of some NFT stuff. When NFTs got like huge, I'm talking like the first big one, the $70 million deal.
Yeah.
We may or may not have quoted some stuff for that person. So that's pretty awesome. So
LeBron James.
My name's Justin. Yeah. Good old LeBron. Was it Donnie J? I don't know. So yeah, my name's Justin Farnsworth. I'm with the Farnsworth Family Agency in Summerville, South Carolina, and I am absolutely an insurance dude.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Woo! Boom! Love it, dude.
Boom.
You might have done that before. You sounded like you got a voice for radio.
That's it.
And a face for the camera.
And a face for radio too.
Well, welcome to the Insurance Dudes. It's awesome to have you here. So you can't say who it was,
but he might have been in the news a lot, right?
A lot. You want to, and here's the crazy thing. So the backstory on that. So the deal is, and you guys may have seen. So I'm on our local school board, which is kind of cool. It depends on the day. I'm actually out at I'm at the polls a couple months ago. And
which polls?
Believe it or not, yeah, right. The ones where you get all those singles. Yeah. So I'm at the polls and I'm talking to these people. Believe it or not, like the poll is a great place to meet people and they'll call you and you get quotes and prospect. Unbelievable.
That is a great idea.
I heard that they're not good, that they're not a good risk.
Right. You don't know what you're going to get. You just don't know. So I'm talking to a guy, a little bit older of a guy, and he's like, yeah, we've got, listen, we just moved out here. My son-in-law and daughter-in-law are getting ready to buy a brand new house here in South Carolina. So we've got a place. Again, I'm not going to tell you the name of the place because I don't want to give away their true identity, but we're talking like 10 mil for this new house. And they said, hey, they're getting ready to buy this place. Aren't you that guy that owns that agency down the street? I said, yeah. He said, and you're running for school board? I said, yeah, yes, sir.
Wow.
And, sure enough, they called me the next day and we quoted it. And there you go. Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Dude, everybody that's listening to this that doesn't know who it is, just Google it.
Yep.
NFT.
So, and it's not hard. Like NFT. Look up South Carolina. You would never know. They live right in South Carolina. It's crazy town.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Did you ever have anybody like famous or well known, Mr. Jason?
What do you mean? In the agency?
Yeah. Besides yourself.
Right.
Just him.
Just you?
Nobody.
So
I don't think so.
Here in Tucson, U of A, the football stuff for Arizona Wildcats is a big, or any of the sports is a big deal. But when I was in school, the coach was Dick Tomey. I don't know if you've ever heard that. I know Jason hasn't, but you may have, Farnsworth. So
yeah.
So I'm in there one day and it was I was still quoting a little bit, interacting a little bit with clients. And in walks Dick Tomey and says, can I talk to Craig? And my guy, Jazz, was sitting at the front at the time. And he goes, oh, no, he doesn't meet. Like he's about to tell him, no, he doesn't meet with any because I was in this point where I was transitioning out of doing that. And I came running out. I'm like, no, I'll take this one. So I had Dick Tomey in my office and it was just like crazy because I remember when we played against Miami, we beat Miami. We were on the field, like pulling down the posts. And like, he was the coach and he's like, I remember, so it was pretty cool to be able to do that. That was my claim to fame at the agency.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Talk to coach. He did pass away recently, but everybody gets old. Well,
so
look, not everybody.
There's so many things I want to talk about, but let's just dive in. Give us how you got into the insurance business and why you chose this over rock climbing or whatever it may be.
Right. And it was close. It was actually the rock climbing career was on a tear. We were going up.
You were using ropes. You have to free solo. It's the only way you can get a movie.
That's it. So honestly, kind of a cool story. I was in wealth management, so I was in banking for a number of years. Long ago, rewind past that, I was military. I was Navy. That's how I ended up here in South Carolina.
Super cool.
And so Yeah, really. I saw the world. Listen, not many 20-year-olds can say they operated nuclear reactors. That's kind of a cool thing, right?
That
Just
is
like
awesome.
Homer.
Yeah, just like Homer, pretty much. So I got to do that for a while. Fast forward, wealth management really kind of set us up. And we were looking, my wife and I, kind of the family, we really were looking to do something on our own, whatever that looked like, just own a business. We had done some side hustle stuff. We had some rental properties, that sort of thing. And lo and behold, the agency popped up. We were looking at everything. I mean, listen, we were looking at convenience stores, restaurants, searching every single day, looking at businesses that were popping up. And this one kind of came across my radar. And so, listen, I already had the financial background. And so it wasn't that far of a leap to go over to the insurance side. But just like my agents today, I had to go back. I had to do all the testing. I had to get my P&C license, all sorts of fun. So here we are a couple years later, and rocking and rolling. Yeah.
So you were looking at all kinds of franchises?
Yeah, you name it. And again, it was really, I looked at some sub shops.
Yeah.
Like I said, convenience stores, really just anything. And at some point, listen, this is the retirement plan. But at the end of the day, I think we wanted something that eventually becomes pretty passive. We want to own it and retain it and be able to pass it down if we want to. It was just anything that had an ROI. Listen, I'm an investment guy. I came from wealth management. I help people for a long time build wealth. And I saw that business ownership was that ends to that mean, or that means to the end. It's a backwards day or something like that, right? And like I said, this really did, when I really started thinking about it, I was like, man, I had sold. So in the wealth management space, I did life insurance. We did a good chunk of that. But when you really start thinking about the P&C side, and I dug into it, I was like, I'd never just kind of imagined that path. And here we are. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. A little deeper into my story. I know I played off like I was just a bartender, which I was, but like I was going back to school full time. And I was looking into, prior to that, I was almost open to restaurant, which is funny because it's like the same stuff that you're looking into. And then during the school thing, I went back to school and I said, I'm going to open my own business once I graduate. And through that process, I said, if by the last year, I cannot figure out exactly what I want to do, I will go into insurance, because my wife's family was all certain captive agency owners, and they had a really great life for their family. So I said, you know what? I had a couple little ones at the time. And I said, you know what? If I can't figure it out, then I'll just go into that. And so I did the whole thing, looked at every franchise, looked at the sub shops, looked at everything. And when you start breaking down the numbers, I mean, that stuff is silly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as silly as it is, the numbers that we're talking about, like I bought this agency for $750,000, which is crazy considering I don't actually own my book. But like, when you look at the numbers of these sub shops and everything, it's like you have to own 10, 20 of them to get the kind of return you want. The staff.
And they're hard to pick up too. It's not like you can just go out and buy 10 Subways. You need to,
right.
You got to
get
one.
I looked at like yogurt shops. Same thing. Yeah, I mean, there's a guy in South Carolina. He's got that corner, like just market cornered. He's got 10 or 15 of them, just crushing it. And so, yeah, a lot of things like that. One thing, and I'll tell you, looking back, super happy I didn't do it. We were this close. Like I had paperwork in hand. This is pretty much right before COVID. So like 2019, 2020, almost went into cruise planning, like travel agency.
Oh no. The timing of that. Could you imagine going through that?
Yeah, so we dodged that one. So all good.
That would have been rough.
So what was the driving force? Like I heard in there, like you're a wealth manager, you were helping people get wealthy with their investments. So were you seeing that the highest propensity of people that had wealth had been entrepreneurial, and that was where the money was coming that they could invest?
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. Small business owners, a lot of real estate folks. You tend to see that here. South Carolina's a little bit different. You get some rural type stuff, some farming and agriculture kind of self-made kind of folks. But yeah, at the end of the day, just business ownership, entrepreneurship. There's technology, that sort of thing, and so it married them all. And I was like, listen, I already get the finance side of it. Like, it's just numbers. You guys talk about it all the time. At the end of the day, it's just numbers. And so I knew that piece of it. And then when I coupled it in and I started thinking, I was like, talk about a recession-proof product. I'm in.
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
it was always
my
struggle until COVID, when everybody ran the other direction and we went all in on leads, and it was like, holy crap, it works. And it worked in the worst economy ever. Well,
Even
maybe
better.
now is worse, but it seemed like the worst economy ever at that time.
Listen, I'm going to give you a horrible analogy, and you may cut this out of the podcast. It's like legal crack. I mean, you got to have
mafia.
You got to have it. I mean, literally, legitimately, and this is what I tell my new producers. I literally take them out to the road. We're on a high profile street, and we stand right there, and we sit there and we're quiet for a few minutes. And I look over and I say, what do you think about that? What's custom? Why do you have me out here on the side of the road just looking at these cars and these people going by? What's up with that? I said, there is no other industry on this planet where every single person that just passed you, I'm talking hundreds, thousands of people, every single person on this planet has to have what you're selling.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
Super cool.
That's pretty powerful. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, and you do see that when the tides shift and the economics get all wacky. You really see that stuff happening, and it's crazy that then the insurance agents, you hear them all complaining about, our carrier takes rate increases or this or this. Yes, we get waves of stuff, but you still have to have it.
That's it. That's it.
Oh. I hope I don't ruffle feathers here, but I know I will. I think that the ones that complain about the rate increases are focused on doing the wrong activity, because when a rate increase happens for me, the value of my book just went up. My commission checks went up. Everything just went up. The only way I'd be complaining is if I have to handle those phone calls of people calling in to complain about their rates. But I don't put myself in that position because I don't like to do that. So there's no problem. I like rate increases, right?
Right.
Like, we need to put ourselves in situations doing the things we like, and then we're not upset about the things we can't control.
I will say this though, because I was on the front lines a few times with the rate increases, and they're coming, right? As long as they're coming, we had prepared for what we were going to say, and we had that stuff down. I feel very secure when I'm prepared for things. And I think this is a good tip with our salespeople and stuff. If they're ultra prepared for that objection, it ain't no sweat. It comes out like that. It's when you're not prepared, and that is what's really cool about this, is that you can prepare for these things. But if you choose not to,
and if you choose not to, you're up the what, and listen, at the end of the day, and not only can you prepare insurance, I mean, we all know it's so highly regulated. What the guy down the street from you is getting ready to get into. Everybody else's rate increases. So there's just not a lot of industries where you can read the competition like that. And we have that discussion all the time in the agency. Yeah, guys, it is what it is. Our rates are going up. But guess what? Everybody's are. It's not just us. It's not just us. So
yep, 100%.
We make it work.
So you opened the doors in 2020, or
November 2020? Yeah, right at the tail end of all the craziness. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the early win?
Tail end?
Yeah, we're still in the tail end.
The continuous tail end.
Well, I was just in Mexico. There were a lot more people wearing masks there than there were in Arizona. Just now, it was interesting.
Huh.
Just an observation. But what was the early win? What happened that you were like, hell yeah, we made the right decision?
Oh man, you want to start with the win, or you want to start with the learning?
Well, yeah. Either one.
I mean, listen, and I'll tell you. I mean, I'll be upfront with you. 2021. I'm not going to call that a throwaway year. I'm going to call it a learning year. 2021 was a challenge, and listen, brand new to this type of business, this industry. I inherited some staff that just honestly were not phenomenal. It is what it is. And I had to learn and get through that. And here's the real kicker. I did, when I came on board, we had a customer service manager. She had been with our carrier for 30 plus years. Long story short, she passed away. So mid 2021, and I'm still trying to learn the ropes. And I'm like, holy crap. I've got some producers that are not really doing fantastic. I'm trying to learn the ropes. I'm trying to be an owner. I'm closing deals. I'm in the middle of this thing. She's kind of the string, the glue that's holding it all together, because our customers for forever on the book love her, and she passes away.
Oh,
yeah. So 2021 was She was in her 60s, and so COVID. I mean, it was COVID, and it is what it is. Yeah, totally brutal, absolutely. And so that was a learning lesson. And so 2021, there were some challenges there, but I had to learn from it. And listen, I think for anybody at that point, you'd be like, I'm out. Like this is ridiculous. I don't know what I'm doing, but we flipped the script, and 2022, we just flipped it. I've got some amazing folks. Started with the Teledude stuff. If you stick with it and you have the right attitude about it, because again, that could get anybody down. That sort of stuff. Holy cow! We rebounded, we rebranded, and we're rocking.
So as part of that learning thing, at what point? Because I came from Merrill Lynch, so I understand that world too. And this is something that I went through. So I'm just curious if it happened to you. At what point did you, as you were quoting and closing deals, did you go, oh, wow, we just made $120 off of that 2 hours I just spent with the house, where you're thinking back to an annuity you sold, you made 20 grand in one day, right? Like, so
that's right. Yeah, and it just becomes right to your point. And so at that point, listen, it is what it is. It's quantity. You have to look at it as a quantity game in order to grow at the levels that we want to grow at. But at the same time, I think where we've really excelled, and I think we're doing just phenomenal. On the flip side of that, I think you have to balance the quantity with still being that personable local agency. Listen, at the end of the day, like people are still doing business with people. We can do as much as quantity as we want. So yeah, so you're absolutely right. Listen, that's a huge difference. And the other piece of the puzzle is now all of a sudden I've got a staff that I've got to pay. I've got to figure out the margins on that $120 home sale that I just made. So how many of those do I have to have in a month? So it's just, it's compounded. But yeah, at some point that switch, absolutely, it has to flip. But yeah, later, the honest answer, it probably took me a good year. I mean, I had to figure out lead sources. I hadn't done any of that stuff. But in the wealth management space, I didn't do any of that.
I do love that you got to the math, though. That's important, right? Because I think that a lot of agents, for a very long time, including myself, I mean, almost a decade, I'm sitting here looking for the better mousetrap. Like, I want to build a better mousetrap. I got to build a better mousetrap. How am I going to catch people? And it wasn't that. It should be, I need to do the math, figure out, like, that's where this, like, it was like, oh man, what have I been doing for 10 years? I needed to figure the math out, and then it's easy. Then you just plug and chug, right? Then it's just, okay, it's how many dollars do I need to throw at it to make that happen, right? Versus, oh, let me find the thing. It's like, it seems like, for so long, at least for me, I struggled with trying to find the thing instead of just work the math out first, because there's no lying in the numbers, right? The numbers are the numbers.
And I feel you too, because like I started at the very tail end of 2016. So I'm a newer agent, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was in my father-in-law's office for like a month, sitting at a desk for like a couple hours a day. I learned a few things like CSR type things. And he gave me some great tips and stuff like that. But like, dude, when I jumped in the agency,
here's how you turn it on.
Like, I was just, I never managed people before. Never. I was never a manager. I was always the guy that's like, nah, whatever you're going to pay me is not worth to having all the extra stuff. So yeah, it can be overwhelming. And then you feel like how the hell do I get this thing working? And then at some point you realize, okay, somebody's got this working. And then it's like, okay, once you figure out the math, all of the scared, all the insecurities and all that stuff disappears, because then it's like, oh, this equals this. If this goes up to this, then this is bad. If it goes down to this, then this is bad. And like, if you say this, it works 80% of the time. If you have all that out, not bad.
Yeah, you figure out right, just a couple things, right? You figure out the levers. You figure out those levers, and you move them down the line, and that's it. Listen, going back to my nuclear power days, you knew you had to know the equation.
Yeah.
If you do this is going to happen in the nuclear power plant, and you just figured it out. And history taught you that. Listen, we certainly didn't try to reinvent the wheel in the Navy nuclear power program. And
I hope not.
I think some guy, and listen, at the end of the day, there are some guys, and you guys, especially you figured it out. And once you figured out that, and like I said, once you figure out that equation, those levers, then you can dial it in over here. Then you can dial it in over here. All right, if I move this just a little bit, it's working. So I'm not going to go do like these sweeping changes, but I can turn this little amplifier button and let's see what that does.
Dude, so next question, I want to know, you bought this agency, the manager dies, like the worst thing ever. You're left with God knows what to do. How did you go from that to last October's post where you're selling 23,000 in premium in one day? So like, what happened between that? Like what does your staff look like? How did that change from how many people did you have when she passed?
So through the rest of 2021, it was like me and one other person.
Oh, how'd you go from that?
We were just, and so we're just trying to literally keep afloat. I'm like, man, how do I at least keep this thing going until we can figure out what we need to do to get where we're going? Listen, I said since day one, we will be one of the largest, in our case, captive agencies in the Southeast. That's my end goal, right? We're going to get there. And so I had to figure out, like, holy crap, all this bad stuff is happening. I'm trying this, it's not working. I'm trying this, it's not working. I'm trying this, it's not working. What's out there? Something's working, because I'm seeing these other big agencies. Something's working. And I really started kind of pinging around, came across Teledudes, came across you guys, and I see like, oh, holy cow, it's about these little, listen, the way of the future. I think the internet leads. I think the telemarketing, that's where it's going. And I genuinely believe that. And so I think it's a culture. I think it was a shift in my mindset to say, like, this is where it's going. I'm going to buy in. Like I've got to kind of, or get off the pot. Let's go. And so I think that you have to buy in. If someone's not going to buy into it, they're going to fail. I talk to guys all the time, and I've had a bunch of guys that they'll try the telemarketing thing, and they'll do it for like 3 weeks. It's just too much. My agents are overwhelmed. We can't handle it. It just didn't work.
I love that. By the way, that is the best thing. It's like too many leads, too much stuff. My guys can't handle it is my favorite one.
Right.
And I get shocked every time I hear it. I'm like, dude, that's like the greatest problem on the planet to have.
It sounds like you're going to complain about anything.
Right? Right. Exactly. But I mean, and so I talked to him, like, you got to give it a shot. You got to give it its full time length. You got to let it build. You got to build that funnel. You got to, again, there's just a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And so
a lot
to really answer the question, I think it's buy-in. I bought into it big time. And then the second piece of the puzzle is people. Listen, I told you from the get-go, I kind of inherited a staff, just not phenomenal. It is what it is. The old agency owner, they were just kind of chugging along. Some of these guys, they're living off their renewals. That's not where we're going. We're growing. And if you don't want to grow, then you don't want to be a part of my agency.
Right.
So that was the shift. And so then when you have that mindset, when you start putting that vision into practice, all of a sudden you find the right people, you find the right agents, and then they're the ones coming in that get excited about it. Like if I'm excited about it, they get excited about it. And then they're writing 23,000, whatever that was in premium in a day. So
a few keywords that you said that I want everyone to pay attention to is vision. You had a definiteness of purpose, like you were like all in. Like it wasn't like I might figure this out or I'm going to dip my toe in. It's like I'm going to be the biggest agency around. Like that's it. And I think that anybody I know that has done massive movements with their business has always had that, where it's like, I am going to get to this point or the agency shuts down. Like those are the two options. And I think that it takes that, because there are 1,000 reasons every day to not do it. If you want to take them, it's not easy to achieve like great numbers, to have a $23,000 day. That is not easy. And it definitely doesn't just happen. If you're buying some leads and, Sally and Frank are out front, and you just hope that they do well. And at the end of the day, you're like, did you do good? Like it ain't going to happen. Never.
That's right.
So
yeah, it builds up. And I mean, listen, it builds up. December was our best month yet. This past December. And to your point, you talk about 1,000 reasons. There's 10,000 reasons in a holiday month. December, it's the end of the year. Like you can come up with 10,000 reasons, and they do. We all see it. We see agents all over the country, all over the place. Well, it's just December. We can't do anything.
Right.
We rocked it out. Like my guys knocked it out the park in December. And
What'd you do?
We ended up at 130 items.
Nice.
Now for us, listen, I've got 3 guys. One of them is part-time. So really I got 2 full-time guys, part-time guy. They were at 130 items.
That
For
is
me,
awesome.
for 2 years in, dude, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Like, that's phenomenal. So we're building on it. And they're already 2 days into this month. We're on track to crush that one. So it's getting there. I'm excited. Like I'm just super, super stoked to see it happen. When it happens. That's the cool part. When you see it, when you go from the low that we were in 2021, and then to get to the point where you're actually chugging along and you're like, man, this thing's working. Like that's pretty cool.
And when you really know the math, then it's like, oh, I have these 2 guys and they're only producing 4 quotes. They should be producing 20 quotes or 20 quoted households. Yeah. Now I can move to capacity. Like what you need to get to capacity and then ramp up, ramp up. And it's just like,
well, that's how you scale. And that's what I tell them every day. And so that's, listen, I've got my search. I actually start some interviews tomorrow because I'm bringing on 2 new guys. We're bringing on 2 new agents, which is awesome because of the growth. We need it. I've got to have it. I'm bringing on a new telemarketer. Like there's just some really cool stuff happening, but 1,000%. Once you know the math, like now that I know, okay, this number of leads gets me here, this number of quotes gets me here, this number of average, call-ins, transfer-ins, live transfers a day gets me here. I know that. So now I can just dial that up. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
So that 23K day, how excited did you get?
Yeah, I think there might still be confetti on the ground.
I like get too excited when we have those huge days, and then there's like a $2,000 day, and you're like, and it's like managing that. How do you manage that emotion, like between the huge days and then the not so great day?
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, listen, you've got to celebrate those big days, like big time.
Yeah.
Like I said, in the agency, literally, like we do, I think I bought out our local store on confetti cannons. Like we do so much confetti. It's ridiculous.
Actual confetti. Love it.
Oh yeah, totally. Like they twist them and it's just explodes. And
nice.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So we do a lot of that. I reward the guys, listen, guys and gals, incentives, lunches, like that sort of stuff. Really goes a long way. But again, at the end of the day, they've got to feel it. Like if I'm excited about, like I come out of my office like hooting and hollering and screaming, we're chatting back and forth every single sale. Like we're doing ridiculous things in the chat. Like we'll have a theme for the week. Last week's was laser animals. And so like every sale, they're getting some stupid like animal with lasers coming out its eyes. And they're looking forward to it. Like that's what they're like, oh my God, what's going to be the next like laser animal?
Ooh, we could put you in charge of the
I love that.
Right.
I love it.
But it's stuff like that. I think it's just, it's exciting. Listen, I think about it and I really don't ever want to compare any of us to like a car dealership, but think about sales. Right?
Yeah.
And we've all been at a car dealership when those guys make a sale, they go bonkers.
Yeah.
And they're like ringing bells, they're ringing gongs, like confetti, like they're making announcements. And I think sales guys, if you're a true sales person, a sales like that, you need that. You need something.
100%. Have to. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. If you haven't been a part of a true sales culture, then you don't understand that like it's all about those little wins. It's about going to war. And that's what it feels like, right? It's about going to war and then having those wins, those victories, and then all high-fiving and being a part of that. Like that's the actual fuel. And I hear you. Like, we used to do all kinds of different promos and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, you might have like a promo that costs you like, hey, I'm buying the guy's lunch or something that you can buy. And you're like, dude, that cost me $30. And these guys are like fighting to the death to like be the winner. And it's like, but then at other times you're like raising the commission and doing something and like it falls on deaf ears because it's too far out, or maybe it's a lot of math involved or something. It's like, dude, they want to win. They don't want to have to do complicated math or wait too long or super important.
Yeah. I mean, that instant gratification, that it's just a big piece of it. So, and it's culture. And listen, at the end of the day, and we're still a pretty small team, but it's just building that culture and we get along really well. Like it's genuinely an agency family. And so that's kind of cool. Like when you celebrate wins together, as an agency owner, and I would tell anybody listening to this, if you haven't experienced that yet, you need to figure out how, because that is a game changer.